Thank you, Aviv. Let me introduce Moshe Semyonov, who will comment on Aviv's work or whatever he chooses to. Moshe is the Rappaport Professor of Sociology of Labor at Tel Aviv University. He's with the Department of Sociology and Anthropology and Labor Studies. He's also the chair of the academic committee at Rupin College, the Immigration and Integration program there. He's the past dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences. What else should I say, Moshe? That Moshe. Let's put this up.
Okay, just here. And I'll take on exactly where you left. But before that, I would. Okay, before that, it's not important yet. Before that, I want to correct you. You said only economists are interested in numbers. Economists in Tel Aviv are not interested in numbers at all. It's only the sociologists who are interested in numbers here.
But you need to speak into it.
Okay. So I actually would like to take on, as I said, exactly where you left. I want to talk about consequences of changes of the pension system. The issues related to pension, and especially pension changes in the pension and in the pension system, as discussed here, highlight or underscore the major role that employment benefits, such as pension, play in our life and their implication for social and economic inequality later in life, actually, all over the life, but also especially later in life, and especially among the older population. The issue becomes especially important when the government is pulling out of the market for its responsibilities, and their responsibilities are shifted to the individuals and to the market. And we have to think about this risk, that the responsibilities are shifted from the government and the employers to the individual and the market. And these have implication and social consequences. Actually, I consider it detrimental in terms of inequality, increasing inequality or rising inequality. So I would predict or expect that as the government pull out, inequalities at the older age especially will grow. Weak population, vulnerable population are going to pay the price of these changes. And I'll try to demonstrate with numbers and data, both from Israel and other societies, United States and Israel, that the disparities between rich and poor are growing, increasing at an older age. Okay? In general, pension and other employment benefits, I'm not going to restrict myself only to pensions, are of major significance or importance for our life for 4 reasons. First, although allocation of benefits, employment benefits, had risen tremendously in the recent century, there is considerable number or portion of the population that are not getting almost any benefits. In the United States, for example, quarter of the population has no insurance and no life health insurance, no pension. Quarter of the working labor force. This is amazing. Actually, this is destiny is to remain poor, actually, toward the end of their life. Second, the amount of money associated with benefits, and we Israelis know that, is quite considerable. It is estimated that about 1/3 of our salaries are supplemented by benefits. So this is kind of substantial. 1/3 benefits and the monetary value of benefits are systematically associated with social groups, with socioeconomic. People with higher income, higher education are more likely to get more benefits. So this is another dimension of the inequality. The fourth, and I think I hinted for it, employment benefits, especially pension and health insurance, I would say, have far-reaching consequences for quality of life, for economic well-being, later in life, much after the working years. That means this runs into the latest part of life in terms of inequality. They should be really and understand the implication. So if we look at the literature, researchers have long suggested that benefits are determined, for the most part, by what we call institutional arrangements, be it the segment of the labor market or the sphere of employment in which one finds himself or herself. That means the kind of industry, organization, economic sector, jobs, whatever, firm, all these kind of arrange the kind of benefits that you might get. And people are talking about good jobs and bad jobs, distinguishing between two types of jobs. And good jobs provide high salaries, stability, and high benefit. Bad jobs, what we call, do not provide reasonable payment and no benefits. And we also know that individuals who are human capital are more likely to get good benefits. In a way, we know that there is no trade or trade-off between income and benefits. People who get one share of the pie get the other share of the pie. You get a basket of economic outcomes. So they all go hand in hand in a way. So over the life course, people who have high income are more likely to get more benefits and then benefit later in life from them. So in this point, I would argue that estimation of economic inequalities that we are always doing, sociologists, economists, dealing with numbers, when estimate economic inequalities based on income or labor market outcome are underestimates of the real gaps. Because when you consider the benefits which are not counted, the gaps are much wider, and they're going to be wider later at life. And we know that over the life course, at older age, the gaps between the poor and the rich are increasing. And this is meaningful because there are no other sources of income for people. So I would argue here and try to demonstrate that access to benefits is not dependent only on your human capital characteristics and the kind of job or industry that one finds himself or herself, but also dependent on ascription. And I try to demonstrate it, so we have kind of food for thought what the next agenda on research should be on this issue. Okay. Actually, let's go to the United States. These data are actually obtained from the Current Population Survey, Special Supplement 206, 2006, for a certain population in the United States. And you can see, overall, if you can look, we have pension, health insurance, both pension and health insurance, or neither. And you can see the differences. Whites are better off, followed by actually black, and then Asian next to them, sorry. Then you have black population, and Mexicans are at the bottom. And this is true for every dimension of these health benefits, and they're worth a lot of money. Sandra, you want to ask something, I think? These are descriptive. We'll follow on. Okay. And one will say, since Sandra asked me, whether that might be consequences of the kind of jobs that people are, the kind of earnings, socioeconomic characteristics, work arrangement, or whatever. So let's say we control for this. Okay, this is, okay. Now computed odds ratios. Look, when no control is a blue one. Look what's happening. The Asian, actually, once you control for social demographic attributes, which including, by the way, education, immigration, yield sense of migration, age, marital status, having children or not, whatever education, the gaps are actually, you can explain almost all the gap with the Asians for men and women definitely, even Asians are overdoing slightly otherwise. Then you control for occupation, the gaps, the odds are considerably lower for Latinos than others, especially among men. Asian are closing the gaps, and then you add earning, finally, the blue one, light blue, and you can see the gaps remain. That means it's not only the kind of jobs in which one has a subscription. That might be, I mean, we can speculate what the reasons. Perhaps it might be discrimination. It might be that weak, vulnerable population don't know how to negotiate benefits, or they try to compromise for higher or whatever, or lower earning as they get, but just to get the job or whatever. But here the market tells the story. When you control for everything, the gaps remains, especially for the Latino population immigrants, okay? These are compared to whites, of course. All these are compared to whites. So these are the odds, whites relative to any other groups. They are disadvantaged. And part of the disadvantages can be explained, but not for Latinos especially, and not for blacks. As you can see, men, mostly men. Now, health insurance is the same story. And when you think about it, about 50% of the population don't have insurance, don't have pension. And 20-some% of the population, almost over 20%, don't have health insurance. These are working people. This is tremendous, okay? So look on these numbers. This we should be concerned about it, health insurance. Now, if we combine two of them and you having chance to have one, having 0, 1, or 2, okay? So it's an ordinal, same, combined together. Look, if you think about it as a basket of rewards, here's the story again. Blacks, 0.08, Mexican, almost half of the chances of having them as whites. This is control for everything, okay? Now, you think in Israel we are better off? Not really. Look on pension, and then what we all know, developmental fund, like Keren Ishtalmut, as we all know. We have some developmental fund, which, university professor, won't get into the numbers. But that's the story here. Men and women have, and then you have pension against over 70% of population, only 70-some% of population have pension. That means they have to be, they're going to be poor toward the end of their life. To live on government social security, this is pitiful. Oh, the data is the Israeli Social Survey. It's collected by the 2005. No, I think 5. I think 5 they collected it. Yeah, almost positive, but I could. But not every. But they don't ask it. But they don't ask this question. Yeah. No, they don't have these questions every year, I think. I'm not sure it's every year. I'm not sure. Is it? Yeah? Oh, this question follows? Okay, good. Okay. Okay, good. This is from there. Actually, if one wants to see, if one is interested in the result from the CPS, from the Camp Population Survey, this paper, Noah and I and Bill Bridges, is going to be published, I think, very soon, or it should be on the web in Ethnic and Racial Studies. So anybody interested in the topic. This is just for the sake of this presentation, okay? It's no paper. But look, again, we have a story, a same story here. Arabs at the bottom and all others. And this remain after controlling for a lot of labor market, earnings, education, whatever you want. We still find the differences are quite substantial. So there are few groups in Israel that are suffering in terms of, or disadvantage in terms of access to benefits. It's non-Jews, Arabs, and the new immigrants from the former Soviet Union. They're still lagging behind in access to benefits. So that's the meaning of it, in a way. So we should consider that ethnic gaps here, and I think that should be his agenda for us for further studies, in a way, what's the cause, because basically benefits are incremental to income, and as I said, we actually underestimate the real gaps, and when you shift responsibilities from government to the individual and to the market, we're running a great risk here, because it has a multiplier effect on socioeconomic gap, economic gap, quality of life, and well-being. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you.